Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the special harvest webinar called Tough Times Require Decisive Leadership. I'm Cindy Code, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar. For several weeks, the harvesters have been working around the clock, taking your calls and gathering the most up-to-date information needed to create best practices for leading and managing during this COVID-19 crisis. The harvesters are joined today by a special guest, Mary Kelly, who is a retired commander in the U.S. Navy and CEO of Productive Leaders. She will share her relatable, no-nonsense approach to help you embrace your business leader role, surpass your goals, and help you plan for the future. Mary Kelly is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and spent more than 20 years on active duty in intelligence and logistics. She retired from the Navy as a commander, and she's earned her master's degrees in history and economics, as well as a PhD in economics. But before we get to today's webinar, we'd like to thank our partners, Verizon Connect. Verizon Connect is a great fit with the harvest goal of addressing business pain points. And now more than ever, safety and employee accountability benefits are very helpful, particularly if vehicles are being garaged at home. The Verizon Field Service Management app can help streamline scheduling and field communications with crews and customers. Thank you, Steve Diogo and the team over at Verizon Connect. We'd also like to thank our partner, Boss LM, who produces another product that can help save you lots of time in your business. Boss LM provides your business with the ability to track gross margins by crew as well as by day, so you're quickly able to compare your job estimates with actual numbers. Thank you to Mike Cousins and his team at Boss LM. So today, along with Mary Kelly, we have head harvesters Bill and Ed to lead you through today's leadership presentation. We encourage you to ask questions. This webinar is for you, so please write your questions in the box on the control panel on your screen, and we'll get to as many questions as possible today. So without further ado, Ed, do you want to get started?
I was going to move to, we want to thank everyone for being with us. And right now, we'd like to give our attention to Mary as she begins the 7 steps that lead through a crisis. Mary?
Hey, thank you so much. And that was such a nice introduction. It makes me sound very smart and focused and stern. And Bill and Ed certainly know that that is not the case. And they also know that I love my landscapers. So let's talk a little bit about 7 steps we can take today that will help our people through a crisis. Now, we all know what's going on in the United States, in the world. We also know that this is a huge shift from where we were just 4 months ago. Many people are feeling nostalgic about 2019. Who would have thought that could happen? But right now, we've got to be taking the right steps to move our business forward. Now, the landscaping business, as we were talking about before this started, is uniquely positioned to not just get through this really well, but it's also uniquely positioned to be even more successful than you would have been otherwise had this crisis not happened. So Bill and Ed, what are some things that you think are positive for the landscaping industry right now? I know you're going to do more on this next week.
Well, I think one area is it's freed up a lot of individuals that have never considered working for a landscape company, because now they're out of work, Mary. And we're talking thousands and thousands in market areas where our landscapers are. And and some of the clients I work with are being inundated with really good candidates. That's one big one.
Oh, huge. 4 months ago, we were all worried about not having enough labor, not having enough people, the talent acquisition. And right now, there's some people are like, you know what? I've now been locked up in my house for 8 hours a day, and I want to go work outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to add to that, Mary, I'd say it really forces us to sharpen up some of our skills, especially in the area of communications and relationship, and what we're talking about today, leadership. So there's using technology. Even the harvesters are looking at new ways of doing that. We're probably old school in many ways, and we're looking at tuning some of our skills in that area. dealing with your people in challenging times. Yeah, this may sound a little weird, but I like a little adversity now and then, Mary, just to see how good we are and how different people react to that. I can really find out who my trusted people are that are really in their game when they respond to adversity like this. Now, I never would wish any of this type of adversity, believe me. I thought just the lack of having people to go find and hire was one challenge, and we've never seen that hard of a challenge. But so relationships, communication, and leadership. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say today and share with our audience today.
Well, you're absolutely right, Bill, because that part of it that is this crisis means that during a recession, and I'm getting a weird echo, I think I fixed it, that during a recession, we economists, we say, don't waste a good recession, because a recession forces us to look at our resources, which is our capital, our inventory, our people, our trucks, things like that, and it forces us to be better. So we are going to see a better allocation of our resources. And that means now is a good time to maybe look at your trucks, to look at your people, to figure out what kind of training you need to do, to figure out, do we need to develop our people a little bit better? Are there other areas we can be expanding our business? Do we do more enhancements? Do we do a little bit more residential? Do we offer up more and different packages? And can we automate and simplify things? And the leadership package is exactly that. We've got to make sure that our leadership is exactly what people need. Because our job as leaders, gentlemen and ladies, is exactly what you said. Our job as leaders is to get people to take the right action. And there's a Hawaiian word that describes it. It says, do the right thing at the right time to the right person with the right spirit every time. And that to me is leadership. The Hawaiian word for that is kina ole. And I love this idea that we help people take the right action. Now, many people during a crisis, as you know, really struggle with leadership. Anytime you feel threatened, and people's number one issue, according to Maslow, of course, is that security issue. And this crisis has shaken people's sense of security. So because of that, many people have become more myopic. They're more focused on themselves, their own business. They feel a sense of scarcity. And whenever people feel a sense of scarcity, they tend to turn inward, not outward. And that means we're not always reaching out to our customers, our consumers, our suppliers, and our employees. So right now, to best lead through a crisis, we've got to be proactive. And I know you folks have seen people be proactive already. Did I lose you?
No, we're still here.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so the number one thing when we start this, that we acknowledge the problem, that we as leaders reach out to all of those people I mentioned, our consumers, our suppliers, our customers, our employees, our teams, and we say, hey, we know this is a problem. We know that right now you might be struggling getting to work because all your kids are home. Maybe you've got your parents who've moved in with us. Maybe your spouse is working from home now. There's a lot more things to juggle, and you may know people who are ill, who may not have been able to get to a hospital to get care. We do need to acknowledge that there is a problem, and this could affect our business. So how have you seen your folks kind of acknowledge the problem?
Why don't you go ahead, Bill?
Well, one thing that we share with our audience and clients is that there's the problem part of it, certainly acknowledging it, and then there's the solution part of it. And then often we spend a lot of time just whining and fussing and kicking the ground about the problem. We spend more time on the problem than we do the solution. So
Right.
Acknowledging it is certainly one thing, but then coming up with all the alternatives and solutions. And once again, as sad as this may sound, I look at it as an opportunity. How can we this will get us all better if we really acknowledge it and take actions and find solutions to solve the challenge that we're faced with.
I totally agree. One of the problems apparently is people weren't washing their hands. Come on, people. This is 2020. We have soap and we have running water. There's really no excuse for us not washing our hands. But we also are also seeing that people, your customers, want to know that the trucks are clean, the gear is clean, the people are clean, that when they touch their stuff, that they don't have to go back out and re-sanitize things. So the problem is, part of the problem is people are worried now about germs, and you would think that we would not have to still worry about germs, but apparently we have to do that. So we have to understand, and we have to show people that we understand what is happening. And we, as the leaders or as the account managers or as the people on site, understand the true nature of the crisis and how it affects other people. Because it may not be affecting us so much, but it's definitely affecting the people we work with and the people we serve. And so as leaders, we want to ask questions like what if questions. You know, what is the worst case scenario? What is the best case scenario? What is the likely scenario? And the answers are somewhere in between there. So what I like to do when we're strategizing is I like to say, okay, what's the very best that could possibly happen? Is that people say, wow, because I'm now spending more time in my apartment complex, it just occurred to me that we need better landscaping here. I'm going to call the resident manager and I'm going to get them on this because I think we're paying for this and we're not getting this. So there may be opportunities like Bill, you were saying. So the best case scenario is our business booms because more people want to work outside, more people want to be outside, people are spending more time in their immediate outside, and these potential outcomes could be great for us. Now, the worst possible case scenario is that the economy will completely tumble, nobody will have any money to spend on us, and landscaping will be considered a luxury that none of us have, and our businesses could all fold. Now, I find that to be highly unlikely. So the best case, the most likely scenario is between the best case and the worst case scenario. So in the best case scenario, what would we do? And we put together a plan for that. And in the worst case scenario, we say, what would happen? What if? And then we put together a plan for that. And then we look at the most likely scenario and we say, okay, what is the most likely thing for us to happen now? And where can we take the courses of action from both extremes and grow our business? Because as Bill, as you said, this is an opportunity. And for many people, again, this is giving us an opportunity to be more flexible with our workforce. You know, before, maybe our workforce only wanted to work from 6:30 to 3:30. And now, because there's more people in their house and maybe they are happy to be working more, they're fine being at work till 5:30 or 6 at night. Or maybe we want more flexibility with how we schedule our teams. And now we've got people who need that flexibility and they're more than happy to work nights and weekends, where before they weren't willing to do that. Maybe we can think of more creative solutions. And then how do we get to this point where we figure out what these possible what ifs are? And that involves your team. So whenever we talk about this, I'm always surprised when I ask leaders, I say, so what's going on with your team? What do they think? And they kind of give me that deer in the headlights look and they go, I don't know. One of the things I really want to make sure we're doing is talking to your teams about what they think the solutions are. And as you know, anytime there's a change or a shift, even if it's just a scheduling change or a job shift, part of our brain, the habitula of our brain, pushes back. It says, you know, we really don't want to change. We're really happy where we are. We are very, very happy doing what we're doing, and we resist the change. And this is partly why this whole crisis was slow to become realized, and partly because we also didn't have the numbers coming out of China that would have given us much better indications. But people were kind of like, well, wait a second, it's just the flu, right? That was kind of the first reaction. And then, oh, well, it's a little bit more than the flu, but okay, it's not really going to affect us. And then it's, well, okay, it might be sort of affecting us, but not really. I mean, they're not really going to close schools. And then, oh gosh, they're going to close schools. And then, oh gosh, my spouse is now working from home and my kids are now working from home. And then you go, oh, yay, I get more family time. This is fantastic. And then you go, oh, I have more family time. Maybe I want to spend more time at work. And all of a sudden, the realization of what you have to do starts to sink in. And then you go, okay, we got this, we got this. And that's that resolution phase. Well, when you're trying to figure out how you take the strategy and apply it to your team, you have to get people out of that very myopic thinking, which is how it affects me, what's in it for me, how does this affect my family, my kids, my partner, my spouse, my parents, my dog, and get them to think about how this is affecting the business and the industry altogether. So this is where sitting down with the team and asking those what if questions. Hey, what if the worst case scenario happened? How would we deal with it? And then what if the best case scenario happened and how would we deal with that? And then ask specific questions, because specific questions gets you more, just gets you better answers. So for example, let's just say, and I'm going to ask this of the 123 people we've got on the call right now. If I said, think of everything in the world on the planet that is green. Well, we all deal with landscaping. So we're going to say trees and shrubs and plants and flowers and grass. And then you start to look around and go, cars, John Deere tractors, everything that's green on the planet. And we kind of stop thinking because that's kind of our world. Well, if I said a very different question, said, well, name me everything green that's inside your refrigerator. All of a sudden you'd open the refrigerator in your head and you'd say, oh, lettuce and cucumbers and pickles and sweet pickles and the mold that's on the cheese, all the things that are green in your refrigerator. So sometimes that brainstorming activity, giving people more specific questions, is going to get you better answers. And what I mean again by that is giving people not parameters to limit them, but parameters so that they can fully explore the strategy, the what if strategy. Because when you're running a team and you show up on a job site, you're like, how are things going? Good, great, fine, wonderful, awesome. None of those answers gives you any idea about what could be done better, what your clients think, if they've had any problems. But if you ask people, hey, what did we do today that slowed you down? Or what was not ready for you when you got to the job site? Or is there anything that happened today that surprised you once you started working on this project? Is there anything that you wish you had on this job site that would make things go faster, better, easier? Is there a piece of gear that you need? Is there a technology we should have implemented before starting this project that would make it more efficient? Those are the kinds of specific questions that if you ask your team will give you the information you need in order to figure out a long-term strategy. So one of the things I would love to ask the harvesters is, what are some questions we can be asking our teams that would help us get the information we need to push our business forward?
Harvester Ed?
Boy, that's a good one. I think we have to assess the talent we have and make sure that we're utilizing that talent the best way we can in the circumstances we have. That's one thing.
Oh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Making sure you've got, as John Cotter would say, get people on the bus and then you got to put them in the right seats. I think you're absolutely right about that. Do you have the right people for this job? And are there people standing around that don't need to be standing around? We could better use them on another job site. Did we put together the right team? What else do you need? What do you need more of? What do you need less of? And we're talking about people. Yeah, that's great.
One simple one that we're coming up with a lot. People are reducing their services. Some of it makes sense, right? You're retail, you're not getting revenue. Why am I paying for maintenance on my maintenance? The hotels are shut down. So a lot of our clients are being asked to reduce their costs. I'll give you an example. One company was asked to drop altogether. We can't afford it. $7,000 a month contract. And so I asked them. I said, "So what'd you respond to that?" And what we're trying to promote is that you're saving $7,000 a month, but it may cost more than that to bring it back up to livability. Just don't turn the switch on and $7,000 a month. 3 or 4 months from now, you got to clean it up, mow the lawn, get everything all squared away, and it could cost more. So part of our strategy is to communicate that in a positive way with our customers. Say, we'll reduce services, but not to a point that'll be detrimental to the landscape and cost you more in the savings that you think you're generating. So that requires a good relationship with your customer, and it requires good communication skills. But that's one that's come up, and then we've had some just fundamental down and dirty ones, putting one person in a truck to get to a job that needs 3 guys or gals. What are you going to do? How do you get there? So some of our clients have come up with some creative ways of building barriers in the truck to prevent the virus coming across, like they're doing in some of the stores now. So the creativity is getting up there. So there's real foundational tactical things and strategic things. I love your thought there, Mary, on worst, best, and likely. and you should have a plan. And in today's world, and it's hot. It's starting to warm up. It's springtime. As Harvester Ed often refers to, the 100 days of
The
hell,
100 days.
April through July 4th, right?
Oh, this is every landscaper's busiest season, or it should be. And there's a couple things that I think they can absolutely do. And this is what I'm telling my landscaping clients as well. And that is, so people are concerned about the security, the safety, the cleanliness. Great. So you might be doing stuff, but you need to tell the customer about it. You need to be saying, hey, by the way, this is how we're outfitting our truck so that we can put 3 people in a truck and they are separated by plastic sheeting. Here's pictures of our crews looking like, Billy the Kid and all of his friends. They wear bandanas and this is what they do. This is what we do to make sure, we're specifically bringing our porta potty to this job site because it's going to last a week and we want to make sure that we are contained and quarantined and all those things. And that includes everything that we're doing. But show people what it is you're doing. Our safety, every single landscaper should have, I think, on their website, what we're doing. And it could be something very positive. We're doing our part to fight the virus. And here's our new safety steps that we've implemented both in the workspace, in the trucks, with the gear, and on job sites. Things are being cleaned, things are being sanitized. When we're passing stuff from person to person, we're wearing gloves, but we're also sanitizing stuff at the end of the day. We're doing a wipe down in the morning. We're wiping down doorknobs. When we come to your house and knock on the door, we're going to do it in a way that does this. All of those things that people go, wow, these guys and gals, these harvesters, they're really ahead of the movement here. They really know what's going on, and they're telling me about it. See, a lot of leaders are doing great things. They're just not telling their customers that they're doing them. And this is hard for some people because we don't like to blow our own horn. We don't like to be like, look at me, I'm so awesome. We all kind of shy away from that, but this is what your customers are asking you to do. And ask your team, hey, how can we better communicate this to the customer? What can we do that's better value for our customer? And ask for their input and then do something with that, because your teams are pretty smart and they know what to do. So when you ask for input, map out what you need to do, and then look at those policies and look to see, have we already done this? Have we already done this in another area? Is another organization doing this better than us? Have we worked through what needs to happen? And then keep everybody informed. And again, it's not just the message you're communicating to your customers and your clients. It is also the message you're communicating to your employees and your teams. And I love, Bill, what you brought up about people saying, hey, you know what, our store's at the mall and the mall's basically been shut down. And that's one of the things where if the mall is your customer, I would really hope that you called them a month ago and said, hey, look, we know y'all are shut down and this is probably costing you money. And we normally have a $7,000 contract a month with you. So right now you don't need everything done, but we would just like to do the bare minimum maintenance for you so that first off, people don't think you're going under. And second, to make sure that when customers do come back, it's going to be pleasant for them. And third, if we don't do maintenance now, it's just going to cost more later. So how about if we take that $7,000 a month contract and we're just going to do maybe 40% of that? Does that sound like a workable solution for you? And people are like, oh my gosh, Harvester Bill, Harvester Ed, they're thinking about us, they care about us, and they're solving our problems. And that's what your customers and your clients need. They need people who are going to come to them with solutions. They don't want to go out to somebody else and say, hey, my current landscaping company is charging me $7,000 a month, and have somebody go, oh, my neighbor kid can go out there with some weed killer and they can take care of that for $1,000 a month. You don't want that to happen. You don't want people looking for other alternatives. You want to be the only person they talk to, the people they trust, and you want to be the people they come to with solutions. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you all is, have you seen an example of somebody doing a great job and being very innovative, very creative, and solving their clients' problems?
I'd say they're doing just what you said. Many of them, Mary, they're going back to their clients and doing that. The ones that haven't done that, they're in the same predicament that Bill just said. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, one of my clients, the company just sent an email, not even a phone call, they sent an email saying, oh, by the way, from this date forward, which was like in about 5 days, we're cutting the contract by 50%. And that was the end of it. And so, it would have been so much better if they were proactive, like many of the people we do work for, are doing.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some great e-newsletters from a lot of our clients, and we've been sharing those with a lot of our other clients just to keep the word out in a positive way, just updating. And then I think one of the more creative ones I've seen is using a smartphone on a stick, right? And you record yourself walking through the job, giving an update, doing a virtual walkthrough, giving a status report. So that's pretty effective, and especially if there's something that needs to be done, why not? Let's sell a little extra while we're there, right? Something that's needed. It's either a safety, security, liability, or asset protection issue that needed to be dealt with, or something needs to be dealt with now. If you don't do it now, it's going to cost you more to do it later. So we try to umbrella those proposals under that flag right there.
Yes.
I've got a client that talk about keeping everyone informed. I talked to him 3 weeks ago, and they had nobody in the company with any of the COVID problems. And 3 weeks later, he's got a dozen in the company with the problem. Wow. And so the best thing he did was to make sure everybody in the company was informed of exactly what he was doing to remedy the situation. And that kind of gave everybody a kind of a breath, like, okay, he's doing everything he can. We feel good about it. We'll continue working. Otherwise, it could be a major problem.
That's it. And this is where leadership really kicks in, is that you have to keep people informed. People can handle bad news, but they also want to know that you've got a plan to do something about it. And we want to find out from you. We don't want to find out because the news came out with a story and said, company XYZ has 19 cases of COVID. And all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, I work for that company. This was the problem with the Smithfield plant in South Dakota, that all of a sudden people found out on the news that their coworkers were sick. That's a terrible, terrible way to manage your people, as well as what do you think people think about leadership when they find out what's going on in their organization from the news rather than you? You are the leader. You control the message. And we need information to be more constant, more of it, and it needs to be more timely. And many people say, well, I don't have that much to tell people. Okay, have you been watching the media first thing in the morning, last thing at night? The White House is giving us updates at night. New York City, I'm not sure how they're getting all this airtime, but they are talking a lot every day. They're saying the same thing every single day. Governor Cuomo tells people every single day to wash your hands. I grew up with strict parents. I knew to wash my hands, and he keeps repeating the same message over and over and over. The lesson there is people need repetition. People need to be reminded. I have a sticky note on my desk that says, drink water. I know to drink water every single day. I don't really like water, but I know I need to drink more water, so I have to remind myself every single day. That's us in a leadership position during a crisis. We have to remind people to drink the water. We have to remind people to wash the hands. And we have to make it in a way that people understand, we understand what it is they're going through. Support and protect our people. Give people good information. It needs to come from us, the leadership, not coming from other people. We get to control the message that happens. I did have one of my execs I was working with was telling me that he's got a rental property, and the rental property has a pool. So all's fine. The pool gets serviced every week, and all of a sudden he gets an invoice from the pool company for $3,000. And he went back to them and said, what is this for? And they said, oh, the filter, we want to clean out the sand and do all this other stuff. And he said, why am I getting this? There's no reason, there's no reason I should be getting this. We didn't ask for this. Nobody said there was a problem. And then the pool company came back out and said, well, we're the ones who track this stuff, and we're reputable, and we really think this should be done. He goes, wait a second, why didn't you call me and discuss it first? And they were like, oh, well, that's not how we operate. Wait, you just decided you want to give me this, in landscaping terms, an enhancement for $3,000 without talking to me about it first or giving me options? They handled it really, really poorly. Now, this pump probably needs to be replaced, But now what's he doing? He's going to other people and saying, hey, apparently I need a new filter on this pool. What can you do for me? And this is a company that's worked for him for 10 years. But because they sent him this weird bill out of the blue, didn't talk to him about it, what happened is,
Can you copy?
I think we lost Mary.
We lost Mary.
Where are you, Mary? Just give her a second. She may have to redial back in again. I think it's a very valid point what she was talking about. One of the things that I've told Mike.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Oh, there you go. We lost you for a minute.
I know, that's so weird. I was here the whole time, still talking. It says talking Mary Kelly. So I was telling you my pool story where the guy got the surprise invoice. Did you hear that?
Yeah, we got all the way to the end there about how not to send stuff out, surprise billings without communicating.
And one of the things that my execs are also telling me is now is not the time we want to be looking for other people to do business with. We want to be trusting the people we've been working with this whole time. So don't give us a reason to go somewhere else. He said, he likened it, he said, you know, it kind of felt like they wanted me to cheat on them. That was kind of the impression he felt. I thought that was really interesting. I know.
Good lesson.
So let's implement that crisis communication plan. One of the things I'm fascinated by in the civilian world is that many times we think one-way communication is effective all the time and that it's one size fits all. One of the questions I like to ask my groups is, what have you done to set up communication in case? So what happens if one of your team members does wind up in the hospital and all of a sudden their cell phone doesn't work inside the hospital? You know, do you have a secondary contact? Do you have a spouse or a partner or a best friend? Does somebody know how to get hold of them? Maybe they are a temporary worker and you're not even sure where they're staying. Do you know what needs to happen and where to find them? Do they know how to get hold of you after hours? What is your communication plan? And make sure that everybody understands where to go to get better communication, to find you, for example. Do people have your direct cell number? Do they have a way to get hold of you? And if cells don't work, you know, what happens if you have what just happened with the tornadoes and cell towers are wiped out? Do your people have a way to contact you? One of the things that came up with that was, if my cell phone goes out, I'm in big trouble because I don't know anybody's phone number. Okay, so what's the secondary plan? What's the email? What's the group me? What's the WhatsApp? What else do you have? And again, this is where you need to talk to your team. Say, we need a secondary way to get hold of everybody, whether that's a group me, a Slack, a Trello, some kind of technology app, or simply a mass email. You know, what happens if you're on a webinar and suddenly you can't hear Mary? What's the backup? Well, we'd already figured that out before we started. We had a backup in terms of text messaging, just in case somebody fell off or there was a glitch. So implement your crisis communication plan, and if you don't have one, get one. Again, during any kind of crisis or uncertainty or challenge or change or transition, people need more communication, not less.
Great point. Excellent point.
And when you're the leader, it's very tempting to, oops, sorry about that. It's very tempting as the leader to get caught up in the emotion. And what I like to, when I train my military people, as you guys know, I taught for 4 years at the Naval Academy and then 10 years at the Air Force Academy. And I would tell my young people that we oftentimes have feelings, that's nice. We have opinions that are based on thoughts. And then we have assumptions, okay, that we think we know. And then we have conclusions, ideally based on facts. And then we've got facts. And what do you want to base your decisions on? Feelings? No. Opinions? No. Assumptions? No. Those are usually bad. And if we were all live, I would ask how many of you have ever had a misunderstanding with your partner or spouse or someone close to you, and pretty much we'd all raise our hands because we've all had that miscommunication. And that oftentimes happens because of miscommunications based on a feeling or an assumption or an opinion. And it's almost never based on facts. We want to make great decisions based on facts. So when we're communicating to our people or to our clients, we want to be very specific. Make sure that we are giving them facts that are useful. Be very honest and be timely, because we get to control the message. When we're the ones reaching out to the client, that's us being helpful. That's us being informative. That's us creatively solving their problem, which means we are in control of that message and we can craft that. Hey, we understand you've got a $7,000 bill with us right now and you don't have any customers right now. So we think we've got a way to keep your building, keep your spaces looking pretty good, that will take less money. Does that sound like a good option for you? Find a way to be that person who is communicating the message and controlling the message. And again, consumers and clients, employees, as well as your team. So where have you folks seen this happen?
Ed?
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I think one thing we need to have, I think, is have a list of talking points. Some of the people that we have an actual script for their guys when they're asked certain questions about this, so they don't fumble or bumble. And then usually it's just call the office if you need more information on it. But just really stick to the facts. Don't get that involved. But they actually have a script and they rehearse it. So I thought that was pretty impressive. That was a company that we work with up in Washington.
I love that.
Very well thought out. So it's like, don't go on and just, hey, they don't give me my PPEs. I don't have any masks. Don't go in the whiny thing. Just stick to the facts. Be nice. Smile. Smiling is always a positive thing to have, right? It's a good solution to a lot of things. Smile, and say I don't know, but here's what I do know, or here's where I can find out. Let me make sure I understand what you're asking me, to show that you're actually listening to that customer and or to your employees and team members. Listening is not necessarily one of my top skills personally. So as they said, you got to listen so hard your palms sweat. So I got maybe I have palm sweating a lot. So I try to practice that a lot. So it's really repeating what they just said, just to acknowledge. I heard let me make sure I understand what you just shared with me. I heard blah, 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 blah. Is that how you're coming across? Is that how you want me to deal with that? So prepare your people, we know.
I totally agree. I totally agree. You don't want people's first time saying the price to a client. You want them to have practiced that ahead of time, because otherwise they're like, yeah, apparently they want me to tell you it's this. That's not a good way to present that. Yeah. It makes me laugh when you said the listening as a plebe at the Naval Academy. We had 5 basic responses. That was it, 5. Fits on one hand, easy to remember. And that was yes, sir, no, sir, aye, aye. Aye, aye is like the greatest phrase ever, because it means I hear you, I understand you're telling me to do something, and I will comply. It does not in any way mean I agree with what you're telling me to do. Aye, aye, sir means I got it. So, left full rudder, 048 degrees. So aye, aye, that means I'm going to do it. It doesn't mean I agree with you. You may be an idiot, but you're my boss and I'm going to do it. By the way, when you say aye, aye, sir, and it's sarcastic, that means they think you're stupid, but they're still going to do it because they work for you. So yes, sir, no, sir, aye, aye, sir, no excuse, sir. That was one of my favorites, because so what's the problem? And people are going, well, but the truck was late and it was dark out and all these excuses. No excuse, sir. And that means, okay, I have an excuse for it. It's probably not a very good excuse, but I'm not going to waste your time. And then I'll find out, sir. I'll find out and we say sir with everything. There's also ma'ams now, but we are officers and gentlemen by act of Congress. And sir is a perfectly acceptable response, by the way. But I'll find out, sir, I always thought was a great response, because it means, you know what? I don't have to know everything, but I will get back to you. I'll find out and I'll get back to you. And I love that. That was great.
Yeah, good stuff. And now living next to Mexico, the final one that we would have would be ay, ay, ay.
There is always that. We also know that you've got to give your people specific actions so that they will take the right action. And that means giving tasks to keep people focused and break up the tasks so that people can get the wins. And ask people, hey, what'd you do today? Oh, I worked on that job. Is a very different question than what did you get finished on that job today? And then people go, oh, well, we got the trees done and we got, that whole hedge done. And give people the wins. People right now need wins. They need to stay focused. They need to feel as though they are accomplishing very specific things so that they get a sense of purpose. And you all talk about this sense of purpose and meaning that people need right now, I think more than ever, and that leadership is about giving people a purpose. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's where I think we need to continue to reiterate our vision and our mission and our values in the company. And if we don't have those, then you're kind of lost. So I think now's a good time to, if they don't have that, to create that, to clearly have that vision in place and the mission. Why do you come to work every day? What's the purpose? So that everybody's rallying around that.
I totally
good
agree.
Stuff. I have a meeting with one of my clients on Saturdays, and I'm coaching them on time management and the top things he needs to work on the following week in order to accomplish his vision. And so this last Saturday, he says, I didn't get any of those things done this week, Bill, but here's what I did get. I just landed a $200,000 contract. I've been working on that. I go, okay, that's a victory. We'll give you an excuse on that one. So there's some great, nothing like getting new business and having new work come in. And this is a challenging time, to say the least, to get new work, because everybody's just kind of stopped and they're just stopped. Everybody's not really working it really that hard. And there's lots of things to do that your salespeople can do, even aside from directly contacting customers. You can do some recon work on Ed's 2 at 200 program. You can solicit testimonials from your customers. Whenever they chirp in and say a real positive thing, and say, God, that is really a positive. Thank you so much. Would you mind if I share that with others? And we have a whole thing on how to get a testimonial and why testimonials are important. So you listeners out there, if you want a little tidbit from one of our account manager training programs on how to get a testimonial, because testimonials, some of your best salespeople, if not your best salespeople, are happy, satisfied customers. So. And
Bill was telling me about a company that he works with that a lot of their salespeople are just sitting home. I mean, literally sitting home. They weren't working, and they could easily be working if the owner had given them a plan and what to do. They could have been busy. But remember that, Bill?
Yeah, that's when we get the gigantic harvester bataka that comes out of the phone. We whack them across the head.
You guys you're so right, and you're telling people to do everything I'm telling people to do as well, especially for the sales teams, and that is reach out, be genuine, be authentic, show empathy, show compassion, solve problems, be helpful, focus on others, ask people certain questions that will elicit the right response. Hey, we know everybody's feeling a little bit scarce right now, and we just wanted to offer this. Or where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? If you ask people how you doing, everybody's going to give you the same answer. Good, great, fine, yeah, great. But if you say, hey, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of feeling confident about moving forward? Some people would say, I'm at a 2, and so they're hurting really badly. And that makes a different response than if you talk to somebody and say, hey, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And they say, I'm a 10, things are great. Well, that kind of gives you permission and guidance on how you move forward with those people. And you can ask that same question. Again, sales teams can do this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are your people feeling? On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think, business is going in the next year? And kind of get a sense of what they're thinking, which is a very different question than how you doing? And then and especially with you men, because you're manly and stuff, you go good, fine, great. That's guy talk. It works. I wanted to do a bonus as well.
Wait, there's more? There's more, Commander?
But wait, there's more. It's Ginsu knives.
Right. Awesome.
Your calm is contagious. When we train Navy SEALs, we let them know that, again, you can have feelings and opinions and make assumptions and draw conclusions, but you need to base your decisions on facts, and you need to be very calm, especially during the crisis. We don't need more people being upset, anxious, irritated, angry, all those bad words. We need people who are calm. Your calm is contagious. So when you're calm, people will be calm too. And they will realize that you're in control, that things are changing, things may be volatile, but my boss, my leader, my supervisor, my on-site person knows what to do. And all of a sudden that reassurance with your attitude and your action goes a long way. Do you gentlemen want to comment on that?
I think you're absolutely correct. And I've had a number of discussions with owners to be calm and to clearly, talk to their people so that they're going to be calm and that they give their people specific instructions so everybody's busy, they have clarity in expectations, they know exactly what they're going to do. And I think that one of the most important things that owners can do in these situations is to get together and discuss it. Of course, they've told me it's difficult now because it's not in person, but they can certainly do it via the Zoom and all the other modems they have now. And I've counseled that they should talk first thing in the morning, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, and then at the end of the day, how did it go today? And then that gives assurance to the whole management team of what's going on, and everybody knows what's going on.
I totally agree. When I go into organizations, my first stop is the boss's office. I'm like, okay, just want to let you know I'm here. This is kind of what I was thinking. What are you thinking for the day? And then they tell me, and I'm like, good. Now I've got up-to-date information. And then I say, great. And so when I'm finished working with your team today, I'm coming back and I'm debriefing you on what I learned, what I saw, what you need to know. And all of a sudden they feel, oh, okay. They feel assured of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you bet. One of our friends, Mark Sanborn, who written many books, right? And
I love Mark.
What I love is leaders. Your people that you lead, they hear your words, but they believe your behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And they're watching us. They're watching us right now. And if you're doubtful and just whining and fussing and then wah, just knock. We don't need, I tell you, whiners, wieners or wimps. We don't need any of those around. We need people to take charge, be positive, seek opportunity, get your people engaged. What a fabulous opportunity. Adversity that it creates better teamwork, better leaders, better technology, better communications, and ultimately better relationships. So what a great review you had for us today, Mary. Really appreciate it. It's been good stuff.
You're terrific.
Hey, Bill, I was going to bring out too, then in 2 weeks, Harvester Judd is going to be doing a webinar on all the positive things that are coming out of this. Rather than just focusing on the negative, he's going to be spinning this around. And what is that word, Mary? Pivot?
Pivot.
That's it. He's going to help everybody pivot to the positive things. Hey, we wouldn't wish this on our enemy, would we? But we want to just do the best we can and make the best out of this situation and turn it positive. So I hope everybody can turn into that in 2 weeks.
That's great. And by the way, Mark Sanborn's son just got commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, and he's heading to flight school. So I'm super, super proud of him. We always need more leaders. We always need terrific leaders who are going to respond in the right way. Again, that Kina Ola idea, at the right time to the right person with the right spirit every single time. And we want to make sure that our communication is timed. And what you said about meetings in the morning, meetings at night, when 9/11 happened and I was in command, my admiral convened a war room scenario. And he said, we're meeting every morning at 7 a.m. and every night at 7 p.m. And every single person who's in charge of something was at that meeting. We went around the table, gave updates. He gave an update. We had an intelligence update. And that way you got to bring that information back to your people. Your people knew what all the senior people knew, and it instilled more trust. It let people know what was going on, and that helped us be more valuable. So we know that as leaders, we have to step up, we have to control other people's negativity, we have to mitigate the uncertainty, and we have to address problems right away. Now, I've got resources for your people as promised. This is the cheat sheet for what leaders can do. There's cheat sheet, and everybody's going to get all this automatically sent to them if they want. But Cindy, I'm not sure if we've got any questions or comments, and I would love to address those if we have any.
Yeah, we have, I think, a really creative group with us today. They've been sharing some feedback of things that they've been doing in their marketplaces. You know, a lot of times, particularly with high-end residential, there isn't a lot of contact with the customer, but, you know, they're continuing to go about their business and being professional and, you know, leading by example. And a good thing to remember always is, you know, that from a marketing perspective, your trucks, when you're showing up on jobs, your trucks need to have your contact information on there. And one of our listeners today said that, you know, if their workers are approached by a client to ask a question, you know, they're maintaining that safe distancing, but they're pointing, you know, to the truck where the website is and say, you know, please call us or please send your questions, you know, to the company, and we'll make sure that we address it for you. So that's key. You know, make sure your website is big and large on the side of your trucks. Others are doing virtual walkthroughs to stay in touch with their clientele if they can't, you know, be with them on site. And re-emphasizing best practices, you know, instead of sermons, you know, preaching all the time about washing your hands and whatnot, you know, just best practices in everything that they do. So all your leaders should be doing that. But we do have a question about, you know, leading by example is preached so often. You know, what does a business owner do if their leaders they've groomed, you know, what if they aren't leading? What if under the pressure of the pandemic, you know, they aren't standing up to that leadership role and they're causing uncertainty among the ranks? What does an owner do then?
They fire them. So this is such a great, I mean, this is such a great opportunity because it's kind of like marriage. You know, you say, I'm going to love you forever, and you promise to do all this stuff. And, you know, then the first time you see, you know, a really good looking guy, you decide to cheat on your husband. Well, okay, that's kind of what we're talking about here. If at the very first sign of adversity, you kind of fail, and you continue to fail, then guess what? This is not somebody you want in charge of your team. It may mean that you find somebody who is stepping up to lead when things are a little bit more difficult, and you put them in charge instead. That the person you thought you could trust with your teams isn't doing the job. And they were doing the job when status quo was good enough, when business came easy, when we were kind of profitable because everybody was profitable. But as soon as things got tougher and we had to enforce more regulations, create more requirements to keep people safe, that they were letting people slack on the job. Well, the reality is they were probably letting people slack on the job before, you just didn't know about it. And that's when it's time to replace people. You can bring them in, you can counsel them, but if the team has already lost faith and confidence in that person's ability to keep them safe, then there's not going to be a whole lot you can do in the short term that's going to fix that right away. Because if you're already hearing about it, then guess what? The team has already lost confidence, and it's probably time to make a change. And I know that sounds really harsh, but now is when you need real leaders. People just sitting in a chair and showing up occasionally to job sites and smoking cigarettes and walking around and nodding a lot, that's not real leadership. That's not what we need right now. My opinion.
Mary, what about if that's the owner?
Sometimes it is really tough to get the owners on board. And this is where the team has to be brave enough to come into the owner and say, look, I know this is not information you want to hear, but this is information that I feel I need to, as one of your team leads, I need to tell you what's going on. And this is what we need from you. You have to lead your boss. You have to lead the owner. Because again, sometimes the owners are very, very far removed from what's going on at the boot level. We call it the boots on the ground situation. And they rely on those people to keep them informed. And sometimes, let's face it, sometimes the owner's an idiot. They could be I have a word in mind, but I don't think I can say it on a recorded line.
Probably not.
Yep. So, I mean, we all, I like that you actually buzzed me when I was going to say something naughty. That's awesome.
We blanked it out. Yeah, we have that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a cool feature. And the issue is you have to tell the owner, this is what our employees need. This is what our customers are expecting. And this is what I need you to do. And then you can say, and this is what we've already started doing. So all I need from you is, and make it easy for the owner to say yes. You've got to lead your boss. And this is where, again, it separates the wheat from the chaff. A situation, any kind of adversity tells you who your real leaders are. And sometimes it's not the business owners. And sometimes it's that top layer of leadership that is keeping that business where it is. And they can continue to do that by leading the boss, or they can go to the competitors.
I have a question for you, Mary, Commander.
Sir?
If there was one thing out of this, everything you share with us today, one thing that you'd like to leave our listeners with, what's the one thing a leader either needs to do or move forward? What's the one thing that you'd recommend?
Communicate, and then communicate some more.
There you go.
Your people are not getting enough from you. They never are. And it's kind of like kids, they play mommy against daddy sometimes because they're looking for attention. Your people need more of you than you think. And being that person who communicates more during a crisis, you think, but I'm doing this every day anyway. Yeah, step it up, twice a day, send emails, send group text. And it doesn't matter if you're just giving people national updates on the virus, or, hey, it's now time for this flower to bloom, or watch out for this, or there's a sale at Penny's. It doesn't really matter. They need information and they need it from you.
Excellent.
So,
Mary, any short inspiring stories from the Navy, a leadership story that you could share with the audience?
Oh my gosh, so many, and thank you so much for asking that. So I was very fortunate in the Navy. I got to fix problems. That was kind of how I made my reputation in the Navy. And I was an intelligence officer and a logistics officer. So I was in charge of big things, big people, big stuff. So fun story. I had one young man who a judge had told him, it's either join the Navy or go to jail. I mean, that was actually still an option when I was in the Navy. And for some of our harvesters, they may have been part of that. And this young person did not want to be in the Navy. He didn't want to be there. And so for him, it was like, I don't want to do this. I don't care about you. I don't care about the command. I don't care about my boss. I don't care about the work we do. I don't care about anything. So what do you do when you've got a young person who has signed a 3-year contract and simply refuses to work? There has to be some kind of consequence. So I said, you know what? I said, I get it. I said, I know you don't like your supervisor or the job or your desk or the Navy or me or anything like that. But the things you do care about, see, those things go away if you continue down this path. And let me make it very clear to you what that new path could look like and why you won't like it very much. Like sometimes you have to paint the picture of what could happen if something negative happens. And so in this young man's case, he goes, well, you can't do that. And well, this is the Navy. We actually can do that. We actually can take away your personal freedoms and your personal ability to wear civilian clothes and your personal life. I mean, we actually do have the ability to do that. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do that, with your folks, but sometimes people need to see that their actions have consequences. And some of those consequences are intended consequences, and some of those are unintended consequences. And you need to help your people see both. Like some people say, well, I'm not wearing a mask because I'm not sick. Well, I get that. And I realize masks are pain in the neck and you don't really work very well with them and you don't like it. I get it. But that's not really the issue. The issue is there are unintended consequences. And right now, we didn't choose this. We don't like it either. But this is a situation we have, and we're all going to work together to make it work. And you got to be real clear about that. So yeah, I can go on Navy stories all day long. Hopefully I'll be back in another webinar, and I would love to share more Navy stories.
Absolutely.
That was awesome, Mary. I think you have something for our listeners.
I do. So I just came out with this brand new book, and it's how to create your leadership bench at all levels of an organization. It's called Who Comes Next? And this I wrote with Meredith Elliott Powell. She's amazing. I don't know if you've met her, but if you want my free stuff, you can go to productiveleaders.com. There's always free stuff there. It changes all the time. The Harvester free stuff, just for today and whoever gets this recording, hopefully within the next week or two, the Harvester free stuff is at Kiwi Live, and the keyword is dog, D-O-G, dog. And I had told the harvesters that if you are the first harvester to email ed@harvestlandscapeconsulting.com, that my team will send you a free copy of the brand new book. It's hard copy. It's pretty. Hopefully it's helpful.
It's great. I just read it last night. It was very helpful. Really good job. And it's very harvester-like. It's straight at it, right? Great, straightforward, implementable, easy to understand. Good stuff.
Thanks. We try to make the chapters so that each chapter makes a point, and then there's a tool, a resource, and a checklist or a form that you can implement right away. So we're all about getting things done, making teams more productive, making people happier, and making more money.
Hey, why not?
That's awesome.
This is where I think everybody may have you gotten some emails yet, Ed?
Yes, they're coming in.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for letting me be with you today. This is where you get the free stuff. I'll just leave this up, and thank you all so much for being with me. If you've got any questions, if I can help you, my contact information is there, and the harvesters know how to get hold of me.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mary.
Thank you, Commander.
Thank you, sirs.
And awesome.
Thanks, Mary, and all of our listeners today.
Bye, everybody. Back in 2 weeks.